The following production is part of the Play Some Video Games podcast network.
And welcome to Board with Video Games, the gaming podcast that strives for the right balance of coverage for games you play on your table and on your television. We're a proud member of the PSVG podcast network and thrilled to be part of the Dice Tower network as well. I am one of your hosts, Kyle Hyman, and joining me on this co-op adventure, the potential future president of Sony Interactive Entertainment, Josh Borboni. How are you doing on this fine evening?
I believe in generations. Let's get that out of the way right now.
Nice. Is that going to be your first order of business, is reinstating generations?
I think, no, what would I do first? Bring the, no, I can't bring the Vita back. It never existed. Bring the PSP back.
I'll say, well, you just hold on to those thoughts, sir. You might get a question in the future about what you might do should you become president. So with that, Josh, How are things going, man? It's been a while. This episode is technically our September episode, even though it's coming out in early October. Yeah. Schedules be that way. But how are things been going, Josh? How is life?
Life is tough sometimes, and sometimes it's not. Yeah. It's been a little hectic the past few months. Work isn't great, which makes me... I just... completed a year there, and now things are not looking great for the company itself. So I'm a little worried about the future of my company. Now, I'm not naming them because I think I can't say that, but you could probably figure out where I work if you know me online. But they're letting a lot of people go, and work's slowing down, and it's interesting to be a part of something like this where I am at. That note, my wife started her new job today, so a lot of things have been changing. We've had some adventures with our kid, who's been we'll say misbehaving. Is misbehaving the right word? We're getting him... I almost said we're getting him tested, and I feel like that's what people say. But it's like a catch-all for we're getting him tested. We're getting him checked for the spectrum to see if and where he is on it, because we're dealing with what we've been told are telltale signs of that. So gotcha. That has been a struggle as parents, trying to navigate that. What is and isn't okay behavior, how to manage that, how to address it. My biggest struggle is trying to figure out. I was really worried about trying to pre-diagnose him, which I still am, because he could just be a hyper 6-year-old, or there could be something more going on. So we obviously want to address that, but it's been very difficult dealing with that stuff.
So I don't want to dive too deep into that, but I just have one question, Josh, because this is the thing that I'm curious about in regards to this. How long does it take you to actually get an appointment for something?
Oh boy, I couldn't even get him to his pediatrician today when he needs to see a regular pediatrician. So right now we have to get his teacher to get a form to give to his pediatrician. Oh, sorry. We get a form from the school. Yeah. For them to give to us to sign, to give back to them, so then they can do their half of this assessment, which when we get that done, then we bring it to our pediatrician. Then our pediatrician looks at it, and then they decide if they think we should see a specialist. Okay. I'm thinking months to a year, who knows, based on how slow it's been going.
And that's kind of where I was curious about, because depending, on states and things like that, I was like, I don't know if this is through the school, through an AEA. I don't even know if all states have AEAs. I don't know how all these things work. But that's what I was curious about, as to how that happens, because I have friends who have done similar things, and it takes an exceedingly long time. And it's like, well, this would have been really great had we known, like 5 months ago, we could have actually like started doing things 5 months ago to kind of help. And now we can't really. So we just sit and.
Well, we talked with this kindergarten teacher last year, and I started to fill that out for us, and then she backtracked and she was like, "Oh, I just think he's very busy." And then I was like, so we were like, okay, that's definitely a possibility. He's only in kindergarten. I don't know. And I know nothing about any of this. I don't know how early they can detect it. I mean, I know obviously some kids are really like high on that, so it's easy to detect, but just one of those struggles. So yeah, and then whatever. You don't need to hear about me complain about life, but it's been tough. And Kyle was nice enough to reschedule last night. Because my son is now covered in little tiny painful bumps and they're spreading. So when he saw the doctor before, they said it was fine. Just keep an eye on it. But they were not painful or spreading or as large as they are now. So
gotcha.
Just one of those things.
Well, hopefully all of that goes well when it does get checked on.
Thanks. Enough about me. You went to Disney, and I want to hear about it.
I did go to Disney. So went to Disney for a week. Stayed in the Pop Century Resort. I will say, last year when we went, we stayed in Caribbean Beach, which is a moderate resort, if I recall.
Yeah.
This year we went to Pop Century, which is one of the value resorts. And I will say, our room in Pop Century was nicer.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they have been more recently renovated, I think. So our room was actually pretty nice. I was pretty happy with it. The outside of the building is still super dated. The general decor of it, being you're staying in the 50s, 60s, 70s, like whatever it is. So the outside is pretty dated, but the room itself inside was really nice. Granted, you're not there for that long, right? Yeah. You're out and about for most of the time, but it was a nice place to stay. I enjoy staying at places that have alternative modes of transportation, so you're not just having to take the bus. And this is on the Skyliner route, which is nice to get to Epcot and to Hollywood Studios, so you don't have to worry about busing for those things, which is pretty awesome. But overall, it was a really good trip. Last time when we went, obviously there was a hurricane. No hurricane this time, so that was great.
Yeah.
I will say it was bloody hot. I can't believe people live there. Like I don't. Right, no one could actually enjoy that. And I asked multiple people who were Disney cast members who were like from Florida. I was like, you don't actually like this, right? Like you're all just saying you do, but nobody actually enjoys this weather. Multiple of them assured me they do. I don't believe that. I still don't believe that. I can't imagine that's true. It was miserable many of the days as far as temperature goes. Because it was, air temperature wasn't always the worst. Air temperature was like, upper 90s or low hundreds.
That's pretty high for September.
Right. But then with, the humidity, it felt like 115 a couple days. And it's just like some of the parks, there's like no shade. You're doing everything you can to keep cool. But, oh, my goodness gracious. And, I don't want to judge parents because I have to imagine that is just a uncomfortable situation for like everyone. Right. But man, I'm not going to judge them on their worst days of probably being a parent. But whew, there were some very uncomfortable interactions that I was standing right next to happening. I was like, am I supposed to do something about this? Like, I feel like this shouldn't be happening this way. But that's one of those really sensitive areas of like, well,
sure.
No, I mean, nobody was like, to be clear, like nobody was like hitting anyone or anything like that. But I just, man. But overall, fun had by all. Great rides. We did try to see Fantasmic 3 times.
Wow.
The first 2 times we got rained out. The first time it rained out, they canceled the show before it started.
Yeah.
And then the second time they actually let us in. We were sitting down and the skies opened and it just downpoured. I mean, it was one of those situations where you're like, oh, it's starting to sprinkle. So you planned ahead, you put your raincoat on or your poncho on and you're sitting there. And then all of a sudden, like the skies open and you're like, having this raincoat is doing me no good right now. This is pointless to have. There's no value, no raincoat good enough, to kind of prevent yourself from getting soaked. And then you have to like walk out of the park just as it's absolutely pouring. I had to like hair dry my shoes for like 30 minutes
geez.
the next morning to like get them ready to be used again. Because this is the one time I didn't bring a second pair of shoes with me. But overall, it was really good. I got to do everything we wanted to, ate at some excellent restaurants. There is something about Disney that it just, I know that some people like the idea of going to Disney seems like really overwhelming or really stressful or really expensive. And it is all of those things.
Yeah.
But it is also one of the few places that when I go, I am pretty much completely like disconnected from everything else that's going on. I never checked my work email. I rarely was ever on social media, even though you're on your phone all the time on the Disney app to do stuff. Like there's always stuff going on. There's always things to do. You're always going to the next place. Like I'm just never looking at my phone really, other than things for Disney. So it was a really nice opportunity just to get away, decompress, and really check out. And the nice thing too about like since we just were there like last year, if something didn't work, like whatever, we were there a year ago, so it really didn't make the days feel like we had to go.
Nice.
Now, did we? Yeah, for the most part,
sure.
but overall wasn't bad. So good trip. If we go,
you must have come home with a ton of Lorcana cards, right?
Oh my gosh, Josh, it was so funny because we were there. The first night we went to Disney Springs because we had a dinner reservation for the night we arrived because we didn't have park tickets to the next day. So we got in at like 3 and we had a dinner reservation at 5. So we go to Disney Springs and we go to dinner. And then afterwards, I'm like, all right, I'm going to go World of Disney. I'm going to all these places and just asking. And like, you could tell a couple of the workers are like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But
no.
The ones who knew though, but the ones who knew were like, yeah, like we've had nothing since the first day, right?
That's
and
crazy.
We're not getting like anything. They're like, supposedly they were printing some, and I didn't put any of the Lorcana story stuff in because it's just such a cluster with that game right now. But yeah, like the workers are like, yeah, we don't know. Like we got stuff, it was gone the first day. We don't think we're getting anything else. Sorry, like. Which was funny though, because it was advertised like on the buses and like I mean they were telling people about it, but you couldn't get it anywhere. So hopefully this second set goes better as far as product goes, but we'll see. So so yeah, Disney was great. It was pretty good. And then came back and went to the dentist. Those are the things you do as an adult. It was pretty awesome, but. A week, I will say, though, was good. I didn't need any more than a week. I was ready to come home and kind of get back to the working world and all that other good stuff. But much needed break. I don't think we're going back to Disney World next year. But it just so happens my partner has a conference in Anaheim in the summer next year. So we might I might go out after her conference is over for a few days and we might hit up Disneyland because neither one of us have been to Disneyland. So since she's already going to be in Anaheim and I'm pretty positive her conference is at one of the Disney hotels, we're just going to do that potentially next summer.
Cool.
So, yeah. All right, Josh, anything else from a life update perspective you want to talk about before we get into the show?
No.
Okay, well, let's do it. Thanks so much for joining us this month, everyone. As always, if you have any feedback, questions, or suggested topics, hit us up at Board with VG on X/Twitter, or check out the awesome stuff over on the Instagram, also Board with VG. We're proud to be part of the Play Some Video Games podcast family, and we encourage you to check out all of the shows like the PSVG podcast, the Nintendo Shack, and PSXP. You never know when a new show might pop up, so be sure to stay tuned to all of your favorite PSVG podcasts to stay up to date. We're also a member of the Dice Tower Podcast Network, so if you enjoy our conversations about board games and would like to dive deeper into that world, we encourage you to check out the Dice Tower Podcast as well as all of the other members of the network. No matter what type of board games you enjoy, there's a podcast on the network that's right for you. With that, let's jump to what we have been playing. Josh, I see on our list we have many of the same games. Do we just want to talk about those same games together?
Sure.
Cool. Why don't you kick it off with whichever of them you want to start with?
Well, I guess I'll start with Starfield. You want me to start with what we've both been playing, or just what I have that we haven't been playing?
Let's start what we've both been playing.
Okay, yeah. Starfield, the game that Josh shouldn't like. A game that Josh doesn't know if he likes yet, but I haven't been able to put a lot of time in. It's funny because I paid that extra $30 to play early, and then this other game came out right at the same time, which I had to choose, and I chose what I wanted to. That being said, I played a few hours of Starfield. I enjoyed what I played from the start, but I that's not even scratching the surface. So
yeah,
I do need to play a lot more, and I want to. Ugh, pardon that yawn. Oof. That's not Starfield related, I promise. The combat feels pretty nice. I did get to the moon area where there was some combat at the beginning, and I kind of feel it does have a little bit of what I enjoyed about Outer Worlds was you can kind of focus on the type of weapon you prefer, so you can be more proficient. So just trying to figure out what I would like to use, and yeah, I've been having fun with it. I think it looks great for the most part. There's definitely some odd character animations, or unsettling maybe is better. Like just the faces are just like they're not as Mass Effect Andromeda bad, but they're Fallout 4 bad.
Okay, yeah.
A game that's arguably too old for this to be compared to. But otherwise, it's a very pretty game. I like it. What about you? What's your experience with Starfield been so far?
Well, Josh, really quick, what is your track record with Bethesda games? Are you a Bethesda games fan in general?
No. But I think bad. I think mostly bad. I don't know that I've liked very many Bethesda games.
Yeah. I'm the same boat, right? Like I tried Skyrim more times than I can count to try to get into Skyrim, and I just couldn't. Never. I always was one of those people who felt that for Fallout, the VAT system was an excuse because they couldn't make good shooting, right? So they had the VAT system as a replacement for quality combat. I never have really been able to get into a Bethesda game, no matter how hard I've tried. And I've wanted to like them because I feel like it's one of the, like, you know, the cool kids like Bethesda games. And I'm not a cool kid, and I really want to be a cool kid. So I was like, okay, maybe it's been a long time since I've played one. I'm not expecting for Bethesda to do things differently, but maybe I have changed in my tastes and the things I like, and that Starfield will resonate with me, and this will be the Bethesda game that I get into. And I can tell you equivocally, it is not. This game is not for me.
Yeah.
I've played not as much. I'm going to continue to put a few more hours into it if I have time, just to really, like, because I want to make sure I've given it its fair shake. I just don't enjoy the feel of the games, the mystery that they're setting out for you to go do, the idea of like you can go into space and do whatever you want. I like, and this is my problem in many games, and I know most people tell me that this is not the right way to play games. I don't want to go do whatever I want. I want to go do what you told me to do. You know, it's just like what I do, and I know that is the like uncool way to play video games these days. It's why Breath of the Wild I struggled with. I really want to have some more direction in the things that I'm doing. And I remember reading recently that, you know, Todd Howard was giving a hard time to people about like being encumbered and like picking up pencils and paper, and he's like, you don't need those things. Then why can I pick them up?
Right.
You know, like if I don't need them, what? Because
you
I
have
can put
the
them all
fear
in,
of like needing it an hour or 5 later and didn't pick it up, and you're like, oh, I can't believe I didn't pick that up.
And right, like, is there something cool and neat about somebody putting a whole bunch of potatoes into an airlock and then the airlock opening? And yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Like, I guess I'm glad someone can do that because they can carry all the potatoes. So I guess that's good. But I really, sometimes, Josh, I get very nervous. I shouldn't say nervous. I really want to like really love an Xbox game. Like I really want to.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I get really painted into a corner of like really only liking PlayStation games. And I like a lot of third-party games, and have a couple coming up probably here in the next month or so that I'm anticipating I'm really going to like that are not PlayStation. But Starfield isn't really it for me. Like I said, I'm going to keep trying to give it a few more hours to see if it does get its hooks into me. But Bethesda still just doesn't make games that resonate with me. I'm really glad other people are enjoying it. That's great. I will say I feel like the chatter about the game has fallen off more than I anticipated, but I also think it's an extremely great year for games. So, you know, that it hasn't fallen off more than it has for other great games this year. Like I do feel like Tears of the Kingdom, even like that game, I don't think has held the attention that, you know, Breath of the Wild did when that game came out.
Yeah. Agreed.
So, cool. So both of us lukewarm on Starfield, it seems.
Sure.
Cool. Yeah. Let's talk about maybe this other game then, Josh, that I know you were really excited about. Mortal Kombat 1, Josh. What are your thoughts there? How's that been for you?
Oh, boy. I mean, they don't disappoint. They really outdid themselves with this one. I mean, everything about it is improved and better than the last one. And I'm talking even just technically, gameplay wise. Some of the things that you can do, even using like Reptile as an example, combat wise, and how the game just plays so fluidly, where your character's literally shape shifting in combat. On that level alone is just very impressive. They added a lot of new characters that have more than your standard attacks, so more things going on with each attack. So it really is showing how well it can handle that. The cameo system is really cool and inventive. They use it to kind of replace you're no longer grabbing objects from the levels like you were in the past 2 games, plus all the Injustice games. That's been replaced by the cameo fighters, which I think is fun too, but I keep trying to use the backgrounds as a force of habit. And campaign wise, honestly, for about an hour, it feels like a different game. It feels like a new fighting game because you're just fighting with no powers for the most part. It's very focused on like a blood sporty hand-to-hand combat kind of level, which I think is very cool. Like playing as Raiden, not having electric powers yet is wild. It's very interesting. Kung Lao with a hat he can't throw. It really, well, he can. It's not as effective. That stuff was really fun, and it challenged me to play differently, which I really enjoyed. And I really, really like how they handled the story. Because, like, speaking of the hat, like, there's a lot of funny things in it. There's great humor. I think the story is when you're messing with time travel and alternate dimensions or timelines, it can get really sloppy and messy. And I think that they did a pretty good job keeping that all together, and really tying it all up with like how do you do a game where a guy is a god and he's on your team, and how do they make that playable? And I love everything about it. I thought the campaign was fantastic. I haven't really messed with invasion mode too much. I played it a little bit, and people aren't familiar. I'm going to give you a reference that you probably are even less familiar with. But when Soul Calibur 2 came out on the Dreamcast, they also had a type of mode like that, like almost like board gamey, where you would walk around the map, and at least in Soul Calibur 2, you would run into these fights, and it would be with like randomly generated characters from all the possible customizable options in the game. And then there would be like, sometimes there'd be levels with like random things flying at you on the screen and stuff. And that's kind of what is invasion mode has as well. You have like match modifiers, like back in the old school Mortal Kombat days, where you could do press the buttons in the arcade and it might add like fireballs firing from the screen and stuff. So they do that to kind of mix it up. I think it's a little slow loading wise. They make you watch the steps as you go through every time, so it's not quite as quick as I want. I like how they reimagined the crypt thing, where you're actually just spending coins at a dragon furnace thing. So you're just getting random things and not trying to find hidden Easter eggs. So I think they revamped all that stuff in a very nice way too. So yeah, it's fantastic. I really enjoy it. How has your experience with the game been?
So I was hoping to have finished the campaign before we podcast tonight, and I haven't. I'm in chapter 11, so I've made some good progress. I'm playing as Sindel right now. I think there's 15 chapters.
I can't wait. You're going to... some crazy stuff happens for soon for you, and it's awesome.
So yeah, so that's where I am right now. I am really enjoying it so far, though. I have always enjoyed, at least the last few Mortal Kombat games where I've played the campaigns, I've really enjoyed playing them. But like the other past Mortal Kombat games, like I think I know what's going on. Like I don't totally know if I know what's going on. And I will say, and this is my own fault, I used quick resume for a couple times. One of the times, like the game had to update, and my Xbox was not happy about life when that happened. And then another time that I did it, I think I skipped the movie that happened.
Oh.
Because it came back and I was like, I have no idea what's happened.
Oh no.
And so I was like, I'm like, I really, really don't remember exactly. And I was eventually able to catch up to it. But overall, like I said, I think I know what's going on. I think I'm kind of following along. Who is your favorite character to play as, or who are you kind of jiving with when you're fighting in it so far?
I really like. I gotta look it up because she's new. I want to say her name is. She's the security guard. Is it Lee May?
Yeah, she's up there for me. She
I
was
really
really
like
fun.
her. And
Yeah, she's pretty fun.
Reptile's awesome.
Yeah, I was saying Reptile is currently my favorite. Reptile was the one who, as soon as the fight started, number one, I wish they didn't make you pause to see the special moves. I wish there was a brief fade in and that you can hit a button to skip it or something. So they just came up, right? Because most people, I don't know, maybe not most, some people at least are going to want to look at those. He was the one though who I looked at them, I was like, okay, I pretty much get this, and I instantly fell into being able to do very basic combos of hey, I can jump in, high punch, low punch, do my little acid spit, everything just felt like it flowed right away, doing the gator roll and things like that, where it was awesome, it felt really good. I just felt for him, I was most naturally able to string things together from my experiences of previous playing fighting video games, which obviously nowhere near to the extent that you have. So he's definitely my favorite, and she's also my second favorite. So I think, I don't know what that means, but I think they're both pretty great.
How do you feel about Natara?
Which one is she?
Well, I'll give you a hint. It's played by a terrible actress.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, yeah, because I was like, I didn't think I had played as her yet, but I have fought her and I've heard her voice acting, and it's not good.
It really shows how good video game voice actors are.
It really does. And I had thought perhaps they had learned their lesson with how bad Ronda Rousey was in the last game. Apparently, they just want one high-profile Hollywood person to sound like poop in their game each year, each time they release it, because it's not good. It's real not good.
It's rough.
Yeah.
It sounds like she did it on her couch in her living room, casually.
Like a Apple, a voice memo that she just sent in.
Yeah.
Which is, as you said, a huge testament to, because it sticks out so much because of how good the other voice acting is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really having a great time with it. Hopefully I'm going to actually go sit down and finish the campaign tonight. I have just not had a ton of time to play video games.
Sure.
But I'm really, really liking Mortal Kombat 1. Have you played much, I know you talked about the other modes. Have you done a lot of just straight up PvP matches?
No, I actually, it was funny because I was thinking about that today as well. I was like, I completely forgot I didn't go back to invasion mode, and then I was like, man, I haven't really put same thing though. I haven't had a lot of time for games, or I'm in that funk again. So Mortal Kombat got me out of that, but only for a week. And I was right back in the funk. So I hope to get back to it soon as well. Maybe this week I'll try to put some hours in.
All right. So both high praise for Mortal Kombat 1. Is this for, obviously, we're in, technically this is September, but only a few months to the end of the year. I mean, I'm assuming this is contention for one of your favorite games of the year?
Yeah, right now it is, yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, Josh, I also noticed that, right before we jumped on here, you were playing a little of that game Cocoon, which I also have played. Tell me about your thoughts on Cocoon.
It's funny. I've had it installed since it was out on Game Pass, and I saw it on your list last night, and I had to stay home today, and I thought, oh, this will be the time. No, I had no time to play it today, so I only got about an hour, and I played once the kiddo went to bed, so played for an hour before we recorded. I just beat the second boss.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's incredibly cool. I'm gonna. I don't want to go. I didn't know anything about the game, right? So when I found out it was a puzzle game, I was disappointed.
Yeah.
So I don't know how far it's going to take me, but for now, I think it's very inventive. I think the biomes, as we're going to just start using now, because they're literal biomes, are very cool. I really like the sound. The soundtrack's really good. I like that there's one button that does everything, and so far at least. And I think the puzzles are good enough that they're challenging, but not too challenging so far. So it takes a little bit, not a little bit, a couple of puzzle elements took me like a couple tries. But one thing about the game is they let you do a lot, and you don't necessarily need to do a lot.
Yeah.
So like they give you a choice to like you can jump between different biomes, and you don't necessarily even know if you're supposed to be doing that. And so far, my experience is no, you have not had to do that. So I'm like, why do they offer? Why is that like kind of the pencil thing? Why is that an option? But then I realized like later, I was like, oh, I did need to go back to that place, just not now.
Yeah.
The boss fights are unexpected. I didn't expect boss fights, and they're very cool and original. So I really appreciate that as well. They kind of have a Hades feel to the boss fights a little bit, just as far as like the interaction with the bosses. It's if people are listening, it's not combat. It's avoiding boss attacks and throwing a ball at them. But so far, I'm really enjoying my time with it.
Well, if it helps, Josh, you're about a quarter of the way through the game if you spent an hour on it. So
okay, all right, that's good. It means I can finish it.
Yeah, so I also am really enjoying Cocoon. It was one of those games that kind of has been on my radar. It was a really promising looking indie. I think it's like the gameplay lead from Inside and Limbo. Like I think it's their new. I guess I don't know for sure. Their new studio. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I do enjoy a good puzzle game, and so far the puzzles, I'm roughly also about an hour in. So far the puzzles have been thoughtful, but not like busting your brain. You're like, oh yeah, it looks like I should do this, and I go and I do it, and I get pretty close to it. The worlds are really cool. It really has a sense of place, and like you said, the fact that everything is basically one button to do basically everything is both awesome and also like. Sometimes I get to things and I hit the button. I'm like, is this maybe where I need to hit a different button?
Yeah,
like,
try all the buttons.
Yes, I just hit all the buttons and see if anything else happens. And so far, the answer's been no. But I am really enjoying it. It is on Game Pass. It's out on everything, but it is on Game Pass. So if you have an opportunity to play it, I definitely encourage it. I think it's like $25 if you buy it elsewhere. So this is gonna be, especially at 4 hours. I don't. For the amount of enjoyment I'm having for it, I don't necessarily think it's overpriced, but I could see someone, if they paid $25 for it and then got 4 hours out of it, might be slightly disappointed.
Sure.
That seems to be the math that many would do. But I do think that it is well worth a look, especially if you have Game Pass, because it seems to knock it out of the park. So yeah, Cocoon. Josh, why don't you finish up the rest of your list then?
Okay, I'll do a quick hit. Baldur's Gate 3. I'm still playing it, but man, I gotta tell you, I feel like I'm stuck and I can't get out of this area I'm in, and I must be doing something wrong because every time I try to get out of this place, I get attacked by like 50 characters at the same time, and they're all like 10 levels higher than me. It's almost, if it's not a quick death, which sometimes it isn't, it's painful. It's just, I'm like, what am I doing wrong?
Right.
So I don't know what I'm going to do. So Baldur's Gate, it's in limbo right now. We'll see. I do want to keep playing it, but I just don't know. I'm not starting over. So I'll just keep trying. Maybe there's a different way out and I don't have to interact with these people. And I was inspired by our Discord. Check it out. PSVG Discord. To try the free trial of the Crew Motorfest, being as I am a Forza Horizon guy, more specifically. I know the last few Crew games I have not enjoyed just because like the controls are bad in my opinion. It's kind of all over the map on what they're trying to do in the game. But I saw Downey sharing some screenshots and I was like, that looks interesting. And it's free to try, so I'll try it. Boy, it's the closest to Horizon we're gonna get. It's pretty impressive. I won't lie. They really knocked it out of the park as far as copying everything Forza Horizon does and trying to make it their own. And I say that as a compliment and like I see what you did.
It's both a compliment and a criticism.
But good for them. Like they need, and it's fine. Like we need a world where there's other Forza Horizons for competition. So I'm okay with that. I mean, I will probably always choose Forza unless the crew comes out with like, a way better version. But that being said, the open world feels fresh and new. I like the interface. There are weird times where you can walk around as your avatar. I don't know that I want that in my racing
Right.
games, because in Forza, at least you can look at your guy and he does stupid things like dancing and stuff. But this one, you're like walking around like a car show, and it just feels, that part feels weird about it. But otherwise, I really enjoyed it. So once it hits, probably Black Friday, I'll probably get it. I imagine it'll probably be cheaper. And I don't need to spend $70 on another racing game when I have Forza Horizon 5. But
And you'll have another Forza soon.
yeah, almost like a week away. Yeah, like 8 days from now. Which I'll try, but I've never been into the simulation.
Yeah.
Hence the 25 minutes I spent on Gran Turismo 7.
Right.
Like, why did I buy this game? But yeah, that's, I think I've been playing other things. I haven't touched Armored Core 6 since we talked about it last. So, and I'm probably forgetting something, but if it's been anything, it's been real quick because I don't have a lot of time. So pick up and put down games that I guess didn't make the memory banks.
Gotcha. Well, Josh, for me, the additional games I have been playing, one is, early contender for Game of the Year 2024.
I doubt it.
That is Foam Stars. Yes, Foam Stars. They had a beta on PlayStation this last weekend. And Foam Stars, it is, every once in a while, a game gets made that you're really like, hey, someone else is going to make a game just like this at some point.
Sure.
And for Splatoon, it just took way longer than anticipated, right? Like it eventually happened. But yeah, Foam Stars is definitely a take on Splatoon, except you are shooting foam rather than ink. Now, it does do some additional / different things. It kind of like mishmashes a couple different genres together, because you basically do have like hero characters who have different abilities and skills. So rather than, having your Squid Kid and then putting on different weapons, like each of the characters have different weapons abilities and skills that they can do. In addition, in the mode that is being played in the beta, which is one of multiple modes that will be in the game, once you foam someone enough, they get into like a foam ball, and then you can hold L2 and you jump on your surfboard that lets you like surf on the foam, and you have to hit them with your surfboard to like get the KO. But if the other team hits them with their surfboard, then it like saves them. Okay. So you just want to hit people in foam with your surfboard. It's going to be good no matter what happens. But there is one interesting wrinkle, Josh, that I did not anticipate.
It is not the surfboards.
It is not the surfboards. It's not the surfboard. I will say, I'm like, there's got to be something like that's like the swimming in this, because me running is a little slower than I anticipated.
Sure.
So then they have the surfboards. But obviously, in Splatoon, you have ink, and you can only put ink down to get so high, right? Well, in Foam Stars, the foam you put down builds up. So you actually have like some building capability as far as like creating yourself like ledges and platforms and other things to give yourself a tactical advantage over your opponent. So even like if your opponent, you see them doing like their ultimate, you might have an ability that puts like a huge block of foam down, so you can actually like protect yourself from like what they're about to do.
Yeah.
So the abilities actually do add a reasonable amount of tactical decision making while you are playing this game.
Yeah.
And Josh, I'm not going to lie, I had a ton of fun with this game. It really is a good time. As someone who really likes Overwatch and the hero powers and the hero abilities with Overwatch, it kind of gives that same feeling where you are working together with your team. And because of this ability to like build tactical structures, or to like build yourself platforms to like shoot down, or build like walls to defend yourself from like people who are trying to flank you and all these things, it provides a lot more like decision making than I anticipated was going to happen. I thought we were going to jump in, we were going to run at each other, we were going to spray a whole bunch of foam everywhere, and then I was going to lose, because that's the way these games usually go.
Sure.
Those first two things did happen, but eventually that foam we're spraying everywhere becomes walls and becomes like ramps and becomes like these other things that you got to kind of interact with. Excuse me, very coffee tonight. So yeah, I was surprisingly impressed by Foam Stars. It is more fun than I thought it was going to be. Maybe that is because I had low expectations for what it was going to be.
Sure.
So it's kind of easy to be surprised when you're not expecting much of anything. But I'm going to keep an eye on it. I think how they release it, the cost they release it at, like all of those things, I think is going to have a significant impact on whether this game is successful.
Okay.
And I think it is very, very easy to write it off as a Splatoon clone, which I can understand. But I think it's doing enough things different that it's not just like playing Splatoon. And I think that there's doing enough things different that there might be some things that players who maybe don't enjoy Splatoon might like. I like Splatoon. I think it was good. There was just some annoyances with like matchmaking and things like that I didn't like. So depending on what they do for this, I could see it potentially finding an audience. But I do think this is one of those games that's very risky. It could be, like many people are saying, a game that's going to be released and forgotten in 6 months. But that doesn't mean that it isn't fun to play. Because I had a lot of fun playing it, actually. So in addition to that, then since I was traveling, I did download a couple Apple Arcade games on my phone. Most of them I don't want to talk about, but one of them that I do, and that is a game called Finity, just Finity. Finity is, for lack of a better word, if you take a match 3 game, but then kind of think of it as a Rubik's Cube, that's kind of what Finity is. So when the game starts, they have different, like 4 different colors cubes in a 4x4 grid. Excuse me. But when you, like, say for the top row, say you grab like the farthest right cube and you move it to the left to, like, the left farthest cube will move over to the right hand side, right? So it's just kind of like rotating around, basically. When you start the game, for each cube, you can move them 3 times. And once you make strings of 3 or more cubes, the strings go away. Everything drops down, just like these games traditionally do, and new cubes fill the spaces up. After you have moved a cube, though, 3 times, so maybe you're moving a cube around to like connect other things, but there's this one cube that you just haven't gotten rid of. After the 3rd time that you move it, the cube halfway locks, in the sense of, like, if you just moved it horizontal to move a line, that cube will only move vertically now, and like for its last move.
Yeah.
But that means every other cube in the line also cannot move horizontally anymore, because you've locked that one cube in place. It will only go vertically. If you then move that row vertically, but that cube still isn't eliminated, then that cube locks in place, and it will not move. So any of the other cubes, either horizontally or vertically, are also then locked and will not move horizontally or vertically, but you can still move them if they're like horizontal or vertical with another cube. And what's really neat about this is that once you like get to a certain score, you move up to like the next level. And the levels get more complicated as you go, because they start adding like split box, where like one of it is one color and the other half of it's a different color. And you just keep building kind of and trying to get through this point where once you get like score enough points to hit the goal score, then you have to complete like 2 or 3 rows to get hearts. And then once you get 3 hearts, you can connect those, and that moves you on to the next level.
Oh boy, you lost me at hearts. I think I was on board, and then
well, the hearts just like it's just another type of block. So rather than filling in with like a yellow block, and fill in just with a heart block.
All right,
and then you just got to connect the 3 hearts. It's really, really fun. It's one of those games that like you can sit down and play for like 5 minutes. You can lose yourself for 2 hours if you want to. If you're playing and you're halfway through a level and you have to stop, you just close it, and when you come back, you'll be right where you were. You don't need to be like internet connected or anything to play it. Like it is a really, really good game. It's really fun. So if you like match 3 games, and you're looking and you have Apple Arcade, Finity on Apple Arcade, give it a shot. I've really enjoyed it. I have not reached a point where I've ran out of levels, and I've also gotten to a point where I've been really stuck for a long time because I just can't get any further than this one level. It's been pretty tough. But it's really fun. I really enjoyed it. So check that out if you're interested in like match 3 style games.
Nice.
And then the final thing, I just wanted to, do our check-in. We do this, I think, most months, but I don't know if we did last month.
Oh, you don't want to just do a check-in.
Well, I do want to also brag a little, slight brag. I just wanted to check in on Marvel Snap. I did reach Infinity status for the first time. Woo!
That's awesome.
I will say I didn't. This is gonna sound like it's no big deal. Genuinely, in the past seasons, I haven't really tried to get to Infinity status. Like, I just played, and like I've really more focused on like completing my dailies and getting those things done and all that good stuff. But this time I was like, you know what? I have a newish coworker who's really into Snap. And he got to Infinity last season, and I was like, okay, if he did it last season, now I really got to try to apply myself this season and see if I can get there.
Yeah.
And I was able to get there. I felt a little bad because the game that I got it on, I don't know any like the names of like any locations. With how much I play this game, you think I know all these locations?
Yes.
The only ones I know like the raft, and like that's it. But so in the game that I ended up getting to Infinity, the raft was the left location.
Yeah.
The center location was the location that cards aren't revealed until the end of the game.
Yeah.
And the right location was the location where you can't play cards to it. Okay, so really you're only seeing one location of cards, unless you happen to have Jeff to put on the right hand side.
Jeff.
So I was playing a Shuri deck.
Okay.
Like the Shuri Sauron, like, you know, negate all of your ability decks, because I was really having a hard time like kind of getting over the hump. And this just really seemed like from a pure power perspective, you could like outrace most of the most like the high evolution decks and stuff out there. So on the left hand on the raft, I got really lucky because I hit like 0 right away. So I went like 0 lizard. But then in the middle location, I put Ebony Maw because I'm like, well, he's not going to flip until the end, so it doesn't care. I don't care if he draws cards.
Yeah.
And then I put, ended up putting Red Skull and Taskmaster.
Oh, geez.
So I was ahead on the left hand side by like just, I don't know, like 3 or something like that. But I was like, I am very confident
you're winning that middle
that I'm winning this middle. And when the game flipped and because I snap and he didn't leave, and I really thought that they would leave.
Yeah.
And they didn't, because I'm pretty evident like what kind of deck I'm playing. Like it's very clear like what kind of deck I'm playing.
Yeah.
So they didn't leave, and I was like, okay. So then the cards flip and I destroy them in the middle. Like it's not even close. And then they gave me the little, you know how you can like click and like give the little like emote things. No, they gave me the I don't believe you one.
Oh, that's funny.
Like, what? I didn't do anything that bad. That wasn't that heinous. That wasn't horrible. That was just playing exactly what this deck does. And you're at level 99. So you probably have seen this deck, I don't know, probably for the last 6 hours, because it's like the only deck people were playing for the most part, other than high evolution control stuff. But anyway, so I finally got there. I was pretty stoked about it. And now I haven't played the game really since I got to it, because I was like, well,
hey, that's
new season starts tonight.
Time out. Yeah.
So what has your snap time been like, Josh? Have you been playing as much as you were still? What did you think of the current season? Have you seen this card for next season? Like, what are you thinking?
I haven't looked at the cards for the next season. I did hear that we're getting some Midnight Suns cards, which I'm excited about.
I think Elsa Bloodstone is the
so that's the Midnight Sun season. Yeah. So I'm excited about that because I love Midnight Sun. So I'll take that. But otherwise, I'm level 70. Nice. Which is the highest I've been. Same thing though. I'm just kind of chugging away and playing to get my dailies in, get my weeklies done. I still love it. I'm still having fun. I'm getting some real nice what's the word I want to use? Getting some real nice variants, which I've been enjoying. It's just been great. So no complaints from me. I don't think, have I changed? I'm trying to think if I add anyone new to my deck. Because I go through these things where I still play Thanos. So every once in a while I'll swap one person out and swap someone else back in. And I spent spent gold on someone I thought I misread their ability.
Okay.
And I thought it was going to be perfect for my deck. And I can't remember who the character was now, but it was like, reduce the cost for one cards or less or whatever.
Oh yeah, Ravana.
Yeah, Ravana, and it doesn't work. None of my cards got reduced.
Well, it reduces cards who oh shoot, what is the exact wording? But it only reduces them reduces the cost of cards whose power is 1 or less by 1.
Which should be all my Infinity Stones. But it does not work on the Infinity Stones. So I took her out. So I put Dazzler back in. I had taken Dazzler out to try to swap a 3 for a 3.
Right.
which because I just with all these extra ones in my deck, it's hard to manage that because you don't see some of your cards as often because you're drawing these Infinity Stones way more often. So it's been it's been like I enjoy the back and forth and trying to figure out what I should play versus what I can play, but I have to be careful with what I put in my deck. And now I'm really just kind of committed to this one deck. I have other decks, I just almost never use them unless there's a goal of like destroy 15 cards. So I just flop on my destruction deck for like those bigger like weekly goals.
Yeah. So it says your cards with 1 or less power cost 1 less.
Yeah. And that doesn't happen.
Minimum of 1.
Right. Oh, minimum of 1. That's the part I missed.
Yeah, they cost
because there's definitely times
1.
in the game where you get cards that cost 0.
Yeah.
So I was hoping to make that work, but I did not. But yeah, I love it. It's great. No complaints. Top tier game.
Marvel Snap. All right, with that, let's move on to our topics of the show. Let's start with some board game news. Josh, any board game stories that you want to jump into? Anything that is, calling to your heart?
Well, I mean, I think we have to talk about this, right? So might as well get it out of the way now. The ugly news. For sure. I know that you linked one story. If anyone is interested, there's enough stories to fill your heart out there. And I had a conversation with. This came up. I didn't even send this to my friends. My friend sent this story to me.
Oh wow! Okay.
I had already read it, but I was like, yeah. So Terraforming Mars, Stronghold Games, right?
Yeah, Stronghold / indie cards and board.
Indie cards and board. Yeah, they're all together now. Yeah, the company who has no money and they don't sell any games needs to go to Kickstarter to fund their next game. Yes, I'm going to be very snarky about this, because when you're a company with no money and you need to go to Kickstarter, you probably also can't pay your artists either. So you want to find a way around that. So what you do is you just take advantage of this crazy new-ish technology that steals from artists and use AI to generate your board game art. It's if you can't tell how I feel about this, you know what I think makes me feel worse?
What's that?
Is how much money this is making on Kickstarter. When the story came out, they were already like almost to one of the highest Kickstarters for their company ever.
Yeah.
I'm like, so people don't care.
Yeah.
Or they don't care to know more about what's going on. So I know I didn't even say anything about what's happening, but Terraforming Mars is making their new game, or is it games plural? I think there's like 2 games in there. Using AI generated art instead of it's at $2,222,000 on a goal of $10,000. I'm so mad at this, and it's just it's Prelude 2, so it's a prequel, right? Milestones and the Automata solo experience comes with neoprene game boards as well as seasonal promos as well.
It's kind of like a mishmash of like different expansions and things that you can add on for Terraforming Mars.
I guess it's clear the money is coming from the people who already own this game.
Yes.
I own this game. I'm like, I own this and I own Ares Expedition. And I want to play them. And my buddy had made a comment saying he always wanted to play Terraforming Mars and maybe I won't play it anymore. I was like, no, I have it. Let's play my copy. They already got my money. So I still haven't played the board game. And
it is a good board game. It's a fun.
And
it's
good. Yeah, and that's one of those things that I think. You can. I think this is a decision made by people that maybe probably weren't even involved with the first game, so I don't think that you have to like not play the first game, especially
Oh
if you
no,
already.
it's the exact same people who made the
Is
first
it
game.
okay? Well,
Yeah.
if you already own it, it doesn't matter. They're not getting more money from you unless you want to buy these things. Well, that being said, this has turned into this makings of a Dust Devil, which turned into a tornado, which is now an F5 because the guys decided to make videos explaining why they think it's okay that they're doing what they're doing, and then decided to maybe use some probably normal language for them, but not acceptable. Like, I don't want to get into it too much, but you can just kind of tell that this person who I'm speaking of is slimy. I'll use as my word. I'm using that word. But it's just it's tough to see this because it kind of makes me wonder, what is this setting us up for?
Mm-hmm.
Would we even know if it wasn't explicit that Kickstarter makes you disclose that? Would we even know that this was using AI, and would they ever disclose that? Maybe not. So, I mean, I guess it's a good thing that Kickstarter did or made it. They didn't do it technically. They just made it a requirement for any of their projects to disclose if they're using artificial intelligence in their product. But I'm rambling. Put some sense out there for the people who are listening.
So here would
what
be
are
my
your
question.
thoughts?
Okay, so here's my question for you, Josh. So, terraforming Mars. This is the wrong take to take. Have you seen the art in Terraforming Mars, Josh? It's horrible.
It's not great.
It's not even not great. It's not good. It is actively not good.
Is it that bad? I
think it's that bad.
I felt like it's like pandemic level, like original pandemic.
Maybe. So anything they could do to make their art better. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, they could just hire a better artist.
Well, and here's the where this is where I think it's going to be very interesting to see what game manufacturers do moving forward, because basically there was an article or an interview with, I think, Polygon, maybe Kotaku, I don't remember, between someone at Stronghold and talking specifically about this, and about their use of AI and their disclosure for the use of AI. And what they said is that basically Fricks Games, the people who design and are the designers of this game, the exact same people who worked on the game are still working on the game. Like, everyone who got paid to do art before is getting paid to do art before. The thing is that, like many artists, they use AI generation techniques to do backgrounds in some of their art.
Yeah.
And artists do that all over the place. That's not like something that just they do, right?
Sure.
But because Kickstarter now says, like, hey, if you use AI, you need to tell us, they now needed to say, hey, we use it, but that doesn't mean this isn't what they haven't always done, right? So that's like the big thing. That's like, their Magic made a big deal about, like, they have said specifically that for artists who work on Magic cards in the future, they are prohibited in their contracts from using AI in their work, right? But a lot of artists for hire, when you're having a lot of things to do in a short amount of time, I don't know how true this is, but I've been in my readings of things, it is said that this is not an unusual technique for artists to do, right? But now they have to disclose that this is what they do. And Terraforming Mars, like, the base game, like, has, like, not all the art is like art that they have made as part of the game. Like, they use public domain art, like, in the base game.
Yeah.
So they have always kind of cut corners when it comes to art, if that makes sense. Like, this isn't suddenly like a company that was all like humble and blah 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 has suddenly, like, succumbed to the evils of AI, right? Like, they have done, maybe shady's not the right word, right? I feel like if you're using art in your game, it probably should be art someone created, not public domain art. But so I don't know. I'm really glad that it is causing the conversation to happen.
Yeah.
I was not going to back this anyway. But from what they have said, really the same people who worked on the first game are the same people who are working on this game. No artists didn't get paid. It's the exact same artists doing it. It's just this allows them to get the game to market faster.
So you think it's maybe just a little blown out of proportion a bit as far as this specific game goes?
I think potentially for this specific game, it is made a clearer picture as to kind of how this company, Frixilius specifically, not necessarily Stronghold, has operated in the past. And it now is just kind of maybe bringing that to light more than people would have known had there not been a require for disclosure. Now, with that being said, I think BackerKit just sent something out also saying that nobody can use BackerKit if they have AI generated things in like their art and things like that. So it does seem that there is going to start to be a front, or at least a group that is saying no, like you cannot use AI things. Whereas others are saying you could say that all you want, but if you hire an independent artist to like do something for this, how are you going to know if they did it or not?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because we've always said, right, that like part of the beauty of AI is it's going to be able to take over the mundane things and allow people to do things faster, right? Like if you have to make a whole bunch of trees in a video game and you can just AI generate a whole bunch of trees, like you like handcraft like a patch, and then you use that handcrafted patch to then use an AI algorithm to make a whole bunch of them. Like we wouldn't be like upset about that, right? Like,
right.
And I know that a part of this comes from like, well, is using the art that's just on the internet, right, to do it. So you're using the art of unpaid artists, or you're using their copyrighted art to like have the AI figure out or help create the art. Like I do think that is problematic, but yeah, I just don't know how people are ever going to know if companies are dishonest about it, you know, like.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I don't know. It makes me think of like even just like looking at like tech demos for like Unreal Engine 5, and you're looking at those caves that they were showing off and stuff, and now you like wonder how much of that was actually hand drawn versus how much of that. But I think for me, like where it came across, or it seemed like it was coming across, was more of the bigger AI art conversation that's happening, where AI is clearly taking specific styles and basically like sort of copying an exact artist style and then
100%
coming across as its own type of art. And that's not the AI's fault, because that's what the AI was built for.
Right.
It's the person who's using it. So if they were always using that, and I think I read a little bit about how they use a specific Adobe thing and specific studios to do it. I'm glad that they have to be honest about that, so you can at least be informed. But if it's not coming down to like you took Tom's artwork and just added a Martian in the background, it doesn't bug me as much.
Well, and I think that's where it's going to be really hard, though, right? Because how will we really ever know? Like, you're really relying on people to be.
They're going to have to be whistleblowers and be like, hey, that's my art. And then it's going to have to be a whole thing about like, prove it. And then who wants to do that?
Yeah. And I do appreciate that they have the transparency now in Kickstarters. And, you know, there was like an interesting conversation about like, well, Kickstarter says that you have to disclose, you know, whether or not you're using AI and whether or not, you know, because there's some like the way that they phrase the question makes it seem like that if you have AI, Kickstarter won't allow it. And that's not it at all. Kickstarter's like, no, we'll allow it. You just need to tell us, right? Like it's not like if you say yes, you suddenly can't have the thing. You just need to tell us that you're using AI. So I think this is not the last time we're going to hear about this. I think this is the first time. I think games will continue to use it, and I do wonder like where that line is between like, you know, somebody on social media like using AI art to like create a funny like, you know, picture of themselves for like, you know, what they're going to use for their avatar on it, versus I'm an artist, got hired to do a job, and I use some AI to help finish out some background work. Like, is that okay? Is that not okay? Where's the line there? I don't know. I think it's gonna be really, really interesting, because we've always said, you know, that we want AI to be helpful to like offload like the really labor intensive parts that don't generate a ton of benefit. Well, seems like, some insignificant background art is the exact place you would want to use that.
Yeah.
But how do
No.
you know that you're not like ripping off a whole bunch of other people while you're doing it,
Yeah. Yeah.
So good first choice, Josh. Good first choice. Josh, I want to talk about this little tiff that's happening. Upper Deck isn't the only people who can sue people, apparently. But it sounds like Evil Genius Games can also sue people, and they have sued another small game maker. Nope, that's not true. They have not sued a small game maker. No, they're suing Netflix. Yes, everyone, Evil Genius Games is suing Netflix, basically saying that, hey, we made a Rebel Moon tabletop RPG, and in contract with Netflix, and we did all the press for it, like we got the game all done. They took a Bible we had made about like the details of the universe and applied it to the movie Zack Snyder was making, blah 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 blah, and then they just canceled our contract because they said we breached it because we talked about the RPG at Gamma, and we're not okay with that. So they're now countered, basically saying that, hey, Netflix, you have reached our contract by using assets and information that we created for our game to create now the world of Rebel Moon, where this movie exists and all of these other things, and that you were present when the information at Gamma was shared, and nobody at the time objected to the information being shared. We had told you that we needed to start building interest for people to pre-order these things, and you seemed okay with that, but then like after the fact, suddenly you said we breached our contract. Yeah. So apparently the lawsuit added that Netflix offered Evil Geniuses $50,000 basically to just go away and not bring this up anymore after they had canceled everything. And that Evil Geniuses is like, nah, not cool, yo. So they're basically suing Netflix for breach of contract. Josh, number one, do you think that Evil Geniuses will be victorious in their lawsuit against Netflix? Number two, did you remember what Rebel Moon was prior to looking at the story?
I did actually. I'm actually interested. Okay. I actually want to see this. I think it looks good. But it certainly is a Zack Snyder film.
It is a Zack Snyder movie. Goodness
speaking
gracious.
Of Bethesda, you got to be a Bethesda person. You got to be a Snyder person.
That's right.
What is their intention out of the lawsuit to get? Just more money, or to get their contract back? What are they trying to get?
I think they're attempting to get an amicable resolution to their disagreement.
Yeah,
so I think
they'll
more
settle.
than $50,000, re-implementation of printing the RPG, whatever it might be.
They'll settle. Netflix will settle, and they'll probably let them use whatever assets they use, but to create a different, not bad Rebel Moon game. That's what I would imagine. It does. It's hard to say who's right here, because you're getting it from one side, but if it was truly like, if Netflix was like, we don't want these guys anymore, just find a way to make them breach their contract. That sounds like something like a corporation would do to somebody. So
right.
I suppose that's possible. It's also possible that they were talking to the wrong person at Netflix who did not make the decisions to give them permission to talk at Gamma. There's a lot of people that work at and around Netflix.
That's true.
So, but yeah, I can't imagine Netflix money wise that Evil Genius is going to be asking for an incredible sum of money. So I would imagine that Netflix can pay him, because this isn't going to look good for Netflix. It will look fine for Evil Genius because they're defending their work. It won't look good for Netflix, I don't think.
Yeah. Evil Genius claims that it quote, supplied all the missing pieces and created a cohesive backstory for the entire Rebel Moon franchise, unquote, in the form of a world Bible.
Yeah,
and this 228-page document was originally created to be an in-house reference for the tabletop RPG, but apparently impressed Snyder and Netflix execs to the point that Snyder indicated that, quote, significant elements, unquote, of the Bible would be worked into the director's multi-film Snyderverse, as well as other Rebel Moon works such as graphic novels, animated series, and a novel.
Well, I mean, I guess time will tell on that. If this comes out and it's a cohesive, sensible story, then yeah, they probably helped Snyder.
Well,
Otherwise,
important thing to note that they started working with Netflix in early 2023. And they said
okay,
that all they had for Rebel Moon at that point was the movie script, because the movie was obviously done or
yeah,
mostly done. Some rough ideas for the Rebel Moon universe and some cursory graphical assets. So they're saying basically they took all of that and then made from that
sure.
this world Bible for the game, or for the universe. The RPG itself saw the creation of a 430-page player's guide and a
Jeez,
337-page game master's guide,
yikes.
that was supposed to be released when the movie comes out December 22nd. But I think what probably ticked Evil Genius off the most is that they sent a follow-up letter in June attempting to, quote, hijack the world Bible created by the RPG by claiming it, quote, belongs solely and exclusively to Netflix.
Well, that's a contract dispute. Is that in the contracts? It might. It
Yeah.
probably is.
So Evil Genius also says that when they were showing the artwork at Gamma, 2 Netflix employees were present and also presented the artwork to people.
Okay, yeah, it's sounds like Netflix interns.
Probably true.
Yeah,
So we'll see. This will be really interesting to follow. I think that perhaps Evil Genius is trying to get more than $50,000,
sure.
just because it sounds like they probably spent far more than $50,000 worth of work for everything they put
Oh
into
yeah,
this. But yeah, I, I
they'll
have
get
to
paid.
imagine they didn't like cancel the contract just because they showed some things at, like, some pictures at Gamma, right? Like, that seems really silly. Like,
Like
I
there'd
feel
be
like it had
more
to be
to
more than
it.
that.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
Cool. Any other board game stories you want to jump into here, Josh?
Well, since I did find out my Pathfinder buddy is listening again, so when I
Oh,
said I don't
nice.
have to talk about Pathfinder anymore, I got a text. uh, doesn't mean I will, but we should talk. We can talk about this new Witcher board game because I know that Witcher is important to some people. Uh, Me, nah, I don't know. I've watched one episode and I thought it was fine, so maybe I'll finish watching it. I know that there's a miniatures game, not this one, that is waiting to be played at some point, or RPG. I'm not even sure what it is, but it's a new Witcher board game featuring playable characters of Geralt, Yennefer, and is it Ciri?
Yes,
Okay,
nailed it.
so Ciri, order pantyhose on Amazon. Thank you. Just for anyone listening out loud.
Wow, not nice. Not nice.
So yeah, so we
Oh
got a new
man.
board game coming out, which of course is adapted from the novels, the famous Polish novels. It's called Path of Destiny. It's going to let players take the role of the characters from the video game series as you go on different quests. Like I said, you can pick from Geralt, Yennefer, or Ciri, and you battle hardened Vesemir. Although you can play as Vesemir. And the Bard Dandelion?
Of course, the Bard Dandelion. Why not?
It's not okay. All right, Dandelion. I guess I didn't get that far in. You can go on quests, and what do you do in this game? You can play 1 to 5 players. It's about 45 to 90 minutes per game. And each character has their own unique abilities. Sounds pretty standard for your standard adventure board game. The game does end after 3 rounds, where there's an epilogue that is read out. So it sounds a little bit more like tabletop RPG style. And the player who has made the most impact on the story is named the winner. I think that's actually kind of an interesting twist. I don't know that I've seen that in a board game before. It's published by Go On Board. They did the just last Witcher release, the Old World. And they're working with CD Projekt Red. It's going to launch sometime in the future on GameFound. We don't have a date yet, but there's some pictures of minis and cards, and it looks interesting.
Yeah, so Witcher: The Old World is set well before Geralt's time, but people really seem to like Witcher: The Old World. The reviews for it are really pretty glowing. It is one of those games this year that there's a good chance that this could end up in like end of the year discussions for like best new game, kind of all of those good things. So, Josh, what are your thoughts on The Witcher as a whole? Do you have any desire to get into this game? You said that there's a Witcher game waiting to be played. Is that the old world that
Yes.
you're waiting to be played? Excitement level? Do you want more Witcher in your life?
I'm excited that my friend is excited. So
That's good. Yeah.
I don't think it will be bad. I just don't have the connection to the lore that everyone has, and not for not wanting. Like I don't know why I haven't watched The Witcher on Netflix for more than I have. It seems like it's right up my alley. Probably because my wife said she's also wanting to watch it, so that means it lowers the availability of me watching it until I just go, yeah, I'm just going to watch it without her and tell her I didn't watch it, and then rewatch it again. But I tried all the video games. Just each one, I won't say worse. Each one was less the style of game I enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
So, I really wanted to get into them, but just couldn't get into them. So I'm happy there's more Witcher. There's not a lot of Witcher content out, so I'm okay. I'm okay with more board games with The Witcher. It's not like the 18th Dune game that came out in 2 years.
That's true. There was a lot of Dune games. I feel like the Dune games were maybe more popular than the movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that seems interesting. I appreciate that they're making this based off the video game and not necessarily like the novels. So yeah, I'm excited and interested to see where this is. I kind of lukewarm on The Witcher as a whole, but like I said, people really like Old World. The reviews for it are really solid. So having Go On Board be doing this game as well seems like they know what they're doing with the property. So I'll be interested to see the price when it's on GameFound, but I'm definitely interested in seeing what they have to do here. So
cool.
All right, Josh. So one thing I would like to talk about is we have a new game announced from Stonemaier Games, known for the huge hit Wingspan, obviously, but they've done a number of awesome games over there. And their new game is called Apiary, which of course involves bees in space. Because who doesn't want to be a bee in space, right?
Yeah.
In the upcoming board game for 1 to 5 players, Apiary sees people competing to create and develop their own advanced honeybee civilizations. At the beginning of the game, which takes 60 to 90 minutes to play, depending on player count, competitors are able to choose from a selection of 20 different factions, each providing their own unique playthrough. Each faction begins with their own hive, small collection of resources, and team of worker bees. Using these starting elements, players will need to develop their faction to become the most successful planet and beyond. So worker placement game. Always down for a good worker placement game. So this game has been created by Connie Vogelman, with this being, I believe, her first game. So interesting as far as that goes. But Josh, any interest in Apiary?
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in checking it out. It's by Stonemaier, so we know it'll be quality. I think the theme is cool. It's original, fun. So yeah, I'm on board for now. We'll see once we get some more gameplay and pictures and all that kind of fun stuff, because Stonemaier likes to slowly leak it out.
Yeah. So the neat thing about this game is you can pre-order it now on Stonemaier's site, and it comes out you should have it in your hands in November. So the one thing that I do appreciate about Stonemaier, not that Kickstarters are bad necessarily, but when they publish a game, once the games are on the boat coming to the US, that is when they open pre-orders. So they know like roughly how many games they're going to have, so they know how many pre-orders they can fulfill. So something that I often appreciate about them is they it's not a long time, and they use the money that they have made from their previous games to make other games rather than just constantly relying on Kickstarters to kind of keep things going. So yeah, pretty neat as far as that goes. I've always kind of appreciated that by them. I think the art in this game looks pretty darn neat. I like the look of it, if you would. It seems kind of interesting. But yeah, Apiary, neat looking game. I have not backed it yet because I maybe potentially bought the new Ticket to Ride Legacy game. And when I pre-ordered it from Miniature Market, I was at $95.99, and you need to get to $99 for free shipping. So of course I just added Flamecraft onto my order because that's $30 to get to my $4 that I needed. So I got those guys coming. But
nice.
So yeah, but So very cool. So I don't think pre-orders have opened yet. Maybe I talked ahead of myself. I think October 4th is when pre-orders begin. So right around the corner, though, you'll be able to get this. And then, like I said, they're aiming to have the games shipped in November already. So yeah, very cool. So any other thoughts, Josh, on Apiary?
No. Did you see Elizabeth Hargrave's new game? With art by Beth Sobel?
No. What is
called
her
Undergroove. It's by AEG. It's a mushroom game.
Oh, I did see this. Now that you say that, now that you said that, yes. I feel like are you in on this game?
I mean, you have one of my favorite board game designers and my favorite board game artist doing a game.
Yes, that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Gotcha. No, I did not. I forgot all about that. That's what happens when
November 7th on Kickstarter. So another game coming to crowdfunding.
Gotcha. Anything else from the board game world you want to talk about, Josh?
Nah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to talk about one final board game story just because
you tricked me.
I tricked you. You tricked me. Because I think this is kind of a big deal. And it's sad news, but I do, especially with what we're about to talk about, big time in video games. Rhino Hero publisher Haba files for insolvency, announces large scale job cuts. This and all the other stories we've talked about for the most part have been over at Dicebreaker. But Haba, the German board game studio, has filed for insolvency with its local district court. The publisher is best known for board games for kids, such as Rhino Hero, which darn is a really, really good game. But the publisher reportedly filed for insolvency earlier this week with the Coburg District Court in Germany, announcing that Haba has been ordered provisional self-administration. This means that Haba is in a state of financial distress in which the company is reporting that it is unable to pay back its debts. When a company files for insolvency, unlike bankruptcy, it decides how it intends to pay its debts, such as contacting creditors to request more manageable payments or liquidating its assets. Managing director for Haba, Mario Wilhelm, stated that the application for self-administration was anything but easy for us. Despite the insolvency proceedings, the normal management team for Haba will remain in office and business operations will proceed as usual. The announcement follows a decision made by parent company of Haba, the Haba Family Group, to discontinue its Jack-O clothing line in August, reorganizing its management team and announcing large-scale job cuts at the same time. So Haba, one of the really best bakers of kids games out there. Like if you want to play a kids game and have it not be, your traditional roll and move, you're looking for really something awesome for kids of just about any age.
Yeah.
Haba is really where it's at. And unfortunately, there's the potential that might not be for much longer. Thoughts on Haba in some pretty significant tough situation here, Josh?
Yeah, I hope someone saves them. I mean, there's people out there that have the money that could buy them, but we'll see what happens. But hopefully it happens because, yeah, you're right. I mean, they're giving you games for your kids that make them think, and it's not just your Target store toilet game or like literal toilet game is what I mean. Like there's poop games galore. Like it's actually. I mean, there's still room for fun games like that in kids' lives, like silly games, but like Haba games are fun and genuinely like teaching your kids good mechanics, not just for board games, but like how to do math in a fun way and taking turns and being patient and all that kind of stuff. So they do a very good job at that as well.
For sure. Just as quick hits, other things that we're skipping, not talking about: Final Fantasy VII Remake's getting a board game. Elden Ring is getting a board game. Or, excuse me, Horizon Forbidden West is getting a new board game, but a co-op board game from the same people who made the Elden Ring board game. And Zombicide is getting Deceased. So we're getting a DC version of Zombicide, just like we have a Marvel Zombies version of Zombicide.
Yeah.
So, there you go. All right, Josh, video game stories. What do you want to talk about?
Boy, what do you want to do? Do you want to vote on the Golden Joysticks? Is that what we should do?
Let's do it. The Golden Joystick Awards have been announced, or nominees have been announced. So we'll go through. Voting goes up to October 20th. And then at some point after that, I don't remember what day. October 27th is the award ceremony, I believe. So we'll kind of go through here, talk about the nominees for the Golden Joystick Awards. We'll give our votes. We're going to do this rather fast because there's like 20 categories. So.
Oh, is there? Let's be quick.
That'll be good. Okay, so Golden Joystick Award nominations. Best Audio. The nominees are Stray Gods, Hi-Fi Rush, Bob Rush Cyber Funk, Starfield, The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, or Final Fantasy 16?
What was the category again?
Best audio.
Oh, I don't care. You pick one.
Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah, Hi-Fi Rush. That's a good one.
Yeah, I feel like that makes the most sense in that category. Yeah. Best storytelling, okay. Josh.
Now
Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
The Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood. Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon. Oxenfree 2 Lost Signals. Paranorma Sight, The Seven Mysteries of Hanjo, or Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
I think you got to go Baldur's Gate just from the sheer volume.
I would agree that I feel like Baldur's Gate 3 has the best storytelling. Best game community, Josh. Final Fantasy 14, Warframe, Baldur's Gate 3, Deep Rock Galactic, Dreams, or The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh boy, they're all toxic in a little bit, right?
I don't know that these are all toxic, are they?
Zelda, Legend of Zelda.
Well, then don't pick that one.
No, I'm saying that's what I would pick.
Oh, gotcha. I'm going to throw them a bone because their game got shut down. So I'm going to go with Dreams. Why not?
Okay, there you go.
Best game expansion, Power Wash Simulator DLC, Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty, The Elder Scrolls Online, Necrom, The Case of the Golden Idol Mysteries, The Lemurian Vampire and Spider of Lanka, Dead Cells, Return to Castlevania, or A Little to the Left, Cupboards and Drawers.
Oh boy, that's a weird one. That's a game.
It is.
I want to play the Dead Cells thing. I should really get on that. But I think it sounds like it's gonna be Phantom Liberty based off of early talks.
Agreed. I would vote for Dead Cells, but I do believe that Phantom Liberty is going to win. All right, Josh, this is a slam dunk. Best gaming hardware, PlayStation VR 2, the Turtle Beach Stealth Pro headset, Alienware 34 AW3423DWF, obviously. Clearly. The Nitro Deck, the Asus ROG Strixscope 296, or the Samsung 990 Pro.
The ROG is, it's not the Ally, huh?
No, it's not the Ally.
Not what I was thinking it was. Let's be funny and pick the VR 2.
Oh, I was going to go with the Alienware 34 AW3423DWF.
Yeah,
Clearly, that's going to be the best gaming hardware, Josh. All right, best indie game. Ooh, this will be fun. Dave the Diver, Pizza Tower, Dredge, Cocoon, Viewfinder, Sea of Stars.
Dave the Diver, no question.
I have not played Dave the Diver yet, though I did see it's coming to Switch. So I'm going to currently pick Dredge, but there might be a surprise in a couple months.
I think Dave the Diver's coming to PlayStation also.
Oh, is it? Cool. Well, maybe that'll change when we get to the end of the year then. All right, best multiplayer game. Exo Primal, people are still playing that. Diablo 4, people are still playing that. Street Fighter 6, Remnant 2, Mortal Kombat 1, We Were Here Expeditions, The Friendship.
I mean, default, I would go Mortal Kombat 1, but I don't consider it a multiplayer game, so I know that it has that option. Maybe Diablo 4 or Exo Primal, but I don't know that I'd pick Mortal Kombat for that.
Yeah, I think maybe Diablo 4 or Street Fighter 6, potentially people seem to like that, but I'm going to go with Diablo 4. Why not?
It's more multiplayer, not I just think fighting games are more literally combative, so.
Yeah. Yep. All right, best visual design, Baldur's Gate 3, Starfield, Hi-Fi Rush, Viewfinder, Lies of P, or Street Fighter 6.
Oh, I really like the visual style of Hi-Fi Rush. I think I would pick that.
I like that as well, but I'm going to pick Viewfinder. Because I think Viewfinder is mind-melting with how it looks.
Very cool.
Nintendo Game of the Year, Pikmin 4, The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, Fire Emblem Engage, Metroid Prime Remastered, Octopath Traveler 2, or Fae Farm.
It would be Tears of the Kingdom for me.
Correct. PC Game of the Year, Baldur's Gate 3, Diablo 4, Dave the Diver, Chia, System Shock, or Shadow Gambit: The Cursed Crew.
Dave the Diver gets it for me, but there's no way Baldur's Gate doesn't win.
Yeah, I feel like Baldur's Gate 3's got that one. PlayStation Game of the Year, Final Fantasy 16, Resident Evil 4, Street Fighter 6, Humanity, Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon, or Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
Oh, Jedi Survivor, I think, but that's just for me.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Final Fantasy 16 just because that's the only one that's only on PlayStation, other than Humanity, I suppose.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm picking there. Xbox Game of the Year, Starfield, Chats of the Senar, Hi-Fi Rush, Planet of Lana, Dead Space, Pentiment.
Oh, it would be cool if Pentiment won, but it's going to be Starfield.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Fi-Fi Rush, though. That is my pick of those games. Still Playing Award, No Man's Sky, Genshin Impact, The Sims 4, Fortnite, Naraka Blade Point, GTA Online, Warframe, Valorant, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, Apex Legends, Dota 2, or Call of Duty, Josh.
I think any of those are fine. I don't know how you don't give No Man's Sky any award it's up for because of just what it went through and what it's accomplished.
Yeah.
It's really like nothing has ever done what No Man's Sky has done.
Yep. No Man's Skis, let's do it. Studio of the Year, Larian Studios, Digital Eclipse, Nintendo EPD, Mimi Games, Remedy Entertainment, or CD Projekt Red.
Oh, I like Remedy.
Who hasn't released the game yet, but that's fine.
What have they done this year?
Alan Wake 2, end of October.
So like, no, I don't know. I can't give CD Projekt Red that because they flunked their launch.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I guess Larian probably with Baldur's Gate 3, though I'm hoping that my answer actually would be Remedy once Alan Wake 2 comes out. Just haven't played it yet, so. Best game trailer, Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty official cinematic trailer. Alan Wake 2, The Dark Place gameplay trailer. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom official trailer number 3. Baby Steps reveal trailer. Mortal Kombat 1 official It's in Our Blood trailer. And Dave the Diver official release month and accolades trailer.
I mean, that Mortal Kombat trailer is very good, but that Baby Steps trailer is sweet.
I'm going to pick the Mortal Kombat trailer because I thought it was awesome. All right, Josh. Most wanted game.
Here we go.
Death Stranding 2, Star Wars Outlaws, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Tekken 8, Vampire the Masquerade 2 Bloodlines 2, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl, Hades 2, Fable, Hollow Knight Silksong, Everywhere, Frostpunk 2, Arc 2, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, Persona 3 Reload, Bulwark Falconeer Chronicles, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, Pacific Drive, Black Myth Wukong, Banisher's Ghost of New Eden, Warhammer Age of Sigmar Realms of Ruin.
Wow, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
I mean, Hades 2 is probably and Star Wars for me, like are the two big ones. But then you said so many games. You had said another one that I thought also was big, and
Fable?
Fable. It wasn't that, but you said something else, and I already forgot it. So many games.
Because there's 1,000 games on this list.
Too many games. But yeah, I'm comfortable sticking for Hades 2.
So mine would either be Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hades 2, or Pacific Drive.
Cool.
All right. And the final category, returning in 2023, best VR game, Josh. Sea Smash VRS, Horizon Call of the Mountain VR, Synapse, Vertigo 2 VR, F123 VR, The Light Brigade.
I'll give it to Horizon the vote because of my Horizon bias, but I can't imagine that game's good.
Yeah, I don't think it's that great. I'll say The Light Brigade because it sounds neat. All right, so those are all the Golden Joystick Awards. I hope you all wrote those down, listeners, so that way when we nailed them all, you can write in and talk about how smart we are, how knowledgeable we are about all things gaming related.
We were very confident in all of our picks.
Very confident. Josh, what else would you like to discuss in the video game?
Hey, let's talk about that state of play that happened that we didn't cover because it happened after we recorded almost a full month ago.
Yeah, we did. PlayStation did do a state of play, not long after we recorded our last episode. They had obviously had their PlayStation showcase earlier in the year that for most people they were disappointed by. I don't know. I think we both said we thought it was fine.
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah. So they came back in September 2023 with a state of play that had some interesting choices and some big hitters in it. Josh, what stood out to you for the state of play?
Well, I think it was also fine. There's definitely some highlights, some big highlights.
Yeah.
But they didn't really fit into what they were broadcasting the state of play as, which is obviously Spider-Man, which I don't think people expected to see it. And it didn't really fit necessarily with what they were trying to do. But I loved what I saw.
Yeah.
I thought that Baby Steps game, really, man, I'm just so intrigued by the what they're doing with this game.
Yeah, that game is bizarre.
The humor seems right up my alley. It's very funny. I didn't expect F-bombs getting dropped in the trailer, though. I was like, I can watch this with my 6-year-old. No. Stop.
No, I cannot. No, I cannot.
It looks very funny. I think the Ghostbusters game looks terrible. I think it's going to probably play terrible.
Yeah.
Which is a real bummer. I'm still undecided on Avatar.
Well, luckily for you, Josh, I will pick that one up for us.
Yeah. I think Helldivers looks super cool, but I will want to play that with friends.
Yes.
Because I feel like it's going to have the Outriders problem for me, where I think it looks awesome. It probably is awesome, but it doesn't play nearly as good solo than it would with even one more person.
Yeah.
But it looks very cool. I really like how it looks. I hate how they do that.
Really
the same
cheesy
thing they've
voiceover.
Been doing since SOCOM too, like fake voiceovers. The Division did it.
I think that very much is Ubisoft is definitely best known for doing that.
For sure. Yeah. And then, for me, the big showstopper was two things: Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And I'll be honest with you, I'm having a struggle with this because when I lost my save, transferring PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5, it means I have to play the game all over again. And that's a long game.
It is.
And I really want to play this new game so bad. I just don't know that I'm ever going to have the time to do both. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that. Maybe I'll just reinstall it and go very slow and play like an hour or two a week to try to catch back up.
Well, Josh, if it helps, Final Fantasy VII Remake, How Long to Beat says it is 33 hours.
Yeah, but I did everything.
So for main plus side is 41.5. For completionist, it is 86.
I feel like I was in around the 60s when I did it.
Yeah.
So maybe. Well, and I want to do everything because it's going to transfer over. I don't want to just half it just to get it done, because then I won't have all my stuff. I spend so much time moving all that materia around.
Yeah.
And then Spider-Man 2 looks incredible. I really think it's going to be fun to see how they manage this instant switching between characters. Instant-ish. I love the crazy suit customizations they're adding, because that's just kind of what there was so many suits in Spider-Man and Miles Morales, but they're really not going out of the park with this customization. I really think it's going to be very cool.
I think I heard 65 suits.
Yeah, it looks that's nuts. So very cool. I'm very happy to see what we saw. How about you?
I agree. Overall, I thought it was a pretty solid state of play, because for the most part, it was games that I am very interested in. Baby Steps was unexpected. I had no idea what I was watching, and I was like, I don't know what this is, but I like it. Avatar, like I said, Frontiers of Pandora, this is a game that I've been in on. I know other people aren't, but for me, I really love generic Ubisoft games. So, whether when I get to jump in and shoot some stuff with a bow and arrow or a gun, I'm in. I'm excited about that. So we'll see. Hopefully it's good. It's by the Massive, who made the Division and Division 2, and I really like both those games. So hopefully that, at least I'm pretty sure they're making this, or are they making the Star Wars game? I can't remember anymore.
Motive's doing the Star Wars game.
Okay, so there we go. And then Helldivers 2, like you said, I love the original Helldivers. It definitely is more fun with friends. It was hard as nails. And they have friendly fire is totally on, and there's nothing you can do about it. So you die a lot to your friends, which is great. Spider-Man looks awesome. I think it's going to be more Spider-Man. Tales of Arise is a game that I really, really enjoyed. I just never finished, and I really wanted to get back to it. Now there's coming DLC for it, which is great. Maybe it's not going to get me to go back. I really want the time to go back to it. I just don't have the time, but I really loved what I played of it. And Final Fantasy VII Rebirth looks awesome. I thought it was a really solid state of play. Pretty much everything in there was something that I had some level of interest to a degree, other than maybe Ghostbusters and the Deep Earth Collection colors of controllers and faceplates. But other than that, I thought it was pretty solid. So
it was a very long trailer for faceplates.
It really was a long, really, really long trailer for that. So all right. Well, speaking of that trailer, Josh, someone had to decide to, put that trailer in there, and probably how long it was. And that person, I'm going to say, even though it may not probably wasn't, I'm going to say it was Jim Ryan. That Jim Ryan decided how long we were going to watch that. And it was announced that Jim Ryan is leaving PlayStation after almost 30 years. He'll be retiring in March 2023 or 24. Sorry, this year's 2023, March 2024. He will be stepping down and retiring from his position as president of Sony Interactive Entertainment. There will be Hiroki Totoki will be taking over as interim CEO of SIE starting on April 1st. He's kind of moving it into an interim role here in November or October. November, he's going to start kind of stepping in. Now keep in mind that Hiroki Totoki is the Sony Group Corporation president, COO, and CFO. So the dude's already got a few jobs.
He's a busy guy.
So I am guessing with him actually kind of stepping in to start overseeing things here soon, and that Jim Ryan stepping down at March. If I had to guess, they're starting to look for the replacement now. I don't know that he's going to be interim too long once April 1 rolls around. He's already got a lot on his plate, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But Josh, here's my question for you. Jim Ryan, leaving. Jim Ryan, controversial figure. I think, he's a little bit of a controversial figure. He's had some wins, had some losses, Yeah. We're not going to judge the history of Jim Ryan at PlayStation. We're not going to go through that. But what I do want to know, Josh, is kind of like I alluded to at the top of the hour, or almost hour and 40 minutes now. Yeah. Josh, PlayStation comes to you, Sony comes to you and says, Josh, we need a new president, CEO for SIE. We think you would fit the bill. Would love for you to come on down, show us what you would like to do if you were to get the job.
Yeah.
What does your presentation entail? What is your direction for Sony Interactive Entertainment moving forward? What would you do if you were the next Jim Ryan?
What an interesting question. I don't know that they need to change anything that they're doing. Well, that's not true. I think that they could probably stop this investment in odd, as you coined, boutique peripherals and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's necessary. You have this huge, loyal, rabid fan base that will support you for everything you'll do. I don't know that that's necessarily something I would want to exploit. And I'm not saying that they're doing that, but I mean, there's definitely things that feel that way that come out. I think people are clamoring for a handheld. I think that people have seen that Sony can do it, and their only problem in the past is that there was never just the follow through and dedication to keep that going. And that's probably on a business level, but as far as the fans go, as a PSP owner, I don't feel like we got 100% of Sony's time, and Vita owners, I know they felt slighted with their investment in that console, and it's still regarded as, all my jokes aside, like one of the best designed and looking handhelds as far as games go.
It's a great piece of hardware.
Out. Yeah, so people love it, think to death. People are still buying it. I'm still tempted to go into eBay and try to get a good Vita bundle just so I can say I tried it, because I never even played the Vita. And I know there's games on there like Uncharted that I want to play that I'll never get to play anywhere else, at least not in the way it was intended.
Yeah.
With those back touch panels and stuff. So that's, I think that would be my big thing, is hey, let's shelf the VR for now until we can get a competitive hands-free model out and focus on designing a new handheld that isn't the virtual console with a screen and half a controller on each side.
Which is, basically sold out everywhere, but that's fine.
I know. Well, I'm one of those people.
Me too.
My wife wanted one, so we pre-ordered it. I was like, you're making me look like a hypocrite. She's like, but it's for me. I was like, yeah, I know, but they'll still see that I have it. But I still think that's that boutique thing, right? That's not necessary. People can already use their backbone in a phone to do what that does.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a different experience. At least that's what they're shooting for. And we'll see when it comes out. But I think Sony's biggest power is in their first party games. So maybe I would look at picking up another studio. Since Microsoft can do it, why can't Sony do it?
Who are they picking up, Josh?
I don't know. Square Enix, Konami, the people we talk about all the time. I still think that they're fine to pick up. That's a good move.
Yeah.
Especially if you can give them your resources, because any game that isn't Final Fantasy VII that comes out for Square is not necessarily. It's more iffy on if it's going to be successful or not.
Right.
At least in the US.
Yeah.
And Konami needs a lifeline. Maybe by Sega. I don't know. But there's people out there that can be purchased and brought in. I don't even think that Sony necessarily needs that. But if you're stepping in this position, I think a big swing is a good way to leave your mark.
Yeah.
And picking up a big company would be huge for them.
Yeah.
What about you? What's your Jim Ryan? Well, what's your Sony in charge man move?
So I'm gonna make some slight tweaks to what you said. I agree with a lot of what you said, but not everything that you said. I think that the boutique stuff actually is a good thing. I think having and the reason I say that is I couch it in the idea that we make at PlayStation, we make exceptional first party experiences, and we are going to give you an entryway to to experience that with the PlayStation 5, your DualSense controller. But if you want to have the absolute best, most immersive experience, we're going to have these killer headphones you can use. We're going to have this killer controller you can use. We are going to allow you to take your gaming experience to the next level if you want to. Not required, but just know that you want to have that fully invested PlayStation experience. Here are ways that you can do that. So I think the boutique thing is good, but I think I agree that VR2, I think they just need to move on at this point. Unless there is something that we don't know about, I think it is time to cut your losses and move on from that. And all those resources and dollars that you're putting onto that, I think you spend a small fraction of that on this boutique side and invest everything else into making games. So I don't think you need a ton as far as that goes. And since you're building off of the things you already have, it's not like this whole new thing that you need to build, right? Like you're building off a controller you already have. You now just brought an amazing headphone company. Like let them make your next, killer headphones that you're going to have as your first party headphones. So I think that's, step one. Step two, I think you slowly begin to cull the number of live service games that you have. You've obviously made commitments to some of these places. I don't want people to lose their jobs. So figure out if there are ways that you can spin this to actually be like meaningful single player or just straight up multiplayer, not live service experiences for people to have. Because you can't, there's no way that there's enough PlayStation 5 and PC users to sustain a dozen live service games. Not going to happen. And if we're going to talk about these awesome boutique experiences that you can best, have with these other, potential accessories, we also want to make sure that those are stellar single player games that you're having those on. So reinvest that money into more single player games. I do think that you pick up some studios, but I think you make small targeted acquisitions. For example, Arrowhead, the developers of Helldivers 2, seems like a great option, right?
Yeah.
So really look at kind of those developers that are small, but are going to be able to round out your catalog. So you still have your Naughty Dogs, your Sony Santa Monica's, your Insomniacs delivering these mega huge single player experiences. And then you can round them out with those with those little bit smaller titles. Speaking of which, my final move would be creating, for lack of a better term, the PlayStation Indie Collective or something like that, where these are not developers that you're acquiring, but these are indie developers you have targeted and said, hey, we really like what you're doing. Here's X amount of money for you to finish developing your game over the next year.
Yeah.
We asked for it to be on PlayStation for 3 months, and then it can go wherever you want it to go. And we'll release it on PlayStation Plus. So that's what I would like to see them do, and have Shu and Greg Rice and that team really be able to go out there and find really great indies. I think they've shown that they can do that. The indie games that PlayStation has targeted overall have been pretty solid experiences, or at least very unique experiences that you can't really get elsewhere. So I think continue to support them in doing that, which then helps continue to support independent developers and make them feel like PlayStation actually cares about them. The final thing I do then, Foam Stars, PS Plus day one, baby. Let's have everyone play Foam Stars. It's going to be the next Rocket League. Everyone's going to play it because they got it for free and be like, this is the best thing ever. So then when it goes wide and goes to other platforms, then everyone wants to get in on the fun and the hype. Make Foam Stars successful. Let's go.
Yeah, just like that other PlayStation 5 exclusive that came out on PS Plus that nobody played, and it was racing combat, and you could get out of your car. What was that game called? Oh yeah, nobody remembers.
But Josh, it didn't have foam in it.
And how would we know? Nobody played it. It could have had foam in it.
It did not have phone.
You can't even remember the name, can you?
I can. I am blanking on it currently.
Yeah.
It had the guy in the mask.
You're going to make that Foam Stars. Good job on your first move.
It was made by Sumo. It was made by Sumo. Crap. What was the name of that game? Man, why can I not remember? I did play it though.
Yeah, it was free. Fired on PS Plus.
It was on PS Plus. That is true. Man, what was the name of that game?
Would you lower the prices of Sony Online?
I would not lower the prices, but because I think backtracking on that now is really, really hard, but I would increase the value. Yeah. I would give more for what is happening.
Okay. Because I canceled my membership.
Yeah, because like I said, I think that the price is too steep, but I think that if they continue to add like really good independent games and things like that to the service, I think it could be worth it. Now, I am lucky that I have it through like December 2025 or something. So it's easy for me to say that because I'm not actually literally paying for it right now.
Yeah.
Josh, it's going to bother me about that game.
It bothers me.
Destruction All Stars.
I'm trying to avoid.
It's Destruction All Stars. Yeah. Destruction All Stars is the name of the game.
Trying to avoid you making a pitfall mistake right off the bat.
But this is Foam Stars, Josh. It's got foam, not destruction.
Right.
Foam.
Which is more
Everyone
fun,
loves
right?
foam. Everyone loves foam. Yeah. Foam parties. Let's go. Oh, okay, Josh. What else do you want to talk about?
Oh boy. Let's see here. Well, we can, I guess. Well, you know what? We could talk about the Nintendo Direct, but I want to talk about a part of the Xbox FTC leak.
Yeah, let's do it.
What do you think about the Xbox Series X refresh? I feel like this is what Xbox wanted for this. It's the Xbox One X originally. Do you think that this is them finally getting what they want?
When you say what they want, are you talking like the whole no disk drive thing, or what do you mean?
Yeah, no disk drive. Basically as close to cloud as you can get at this point, because all your games are digital.
Right.
2 terabytes of storage. Like, so for people who don't know, one of the leaks that they had to disclose during this giant purchase that they're trying to make of Activision Blizzard was that they, all the stuff got released that they had in the works, like some remasters for games that we're getting, probably most likely, and then this Xbox Series X refresh, which was to boast 2 terabytes of storage, no disk drive, of course, in a curved design. It looks like not quite circular. It's like
the pillar.
It's a pillar. Yeah, it's a pillar. Definitely column. More appealing looking than the current console, but also supposed to be improved energy efficiency and much faster Wi-Fi, which would be nice for downloads. But what do you think this is? Do you think this is like necessary? Is this like their PlayStation's going to do a slim? This is going to be our take. And for someone like me who has a lot of 4K Blu-rays, I'm looking at this and now I'm like, do I have to go buy a standalone 4K Blu-ray player, which still costs like $300?
Yes, you do, Josh. Yes, you do.
Because I don't like that.
So obviously with these leaks, who knows like if this is what it will actually happen, right?
Yeah.
But I do think this is the natural progression of things. Like this, when I saw this, I was like, yep, this makes complete sense. The only thing that I was curious about is how do I put this on its side? Like I'm really bummed about that. Like that's my biggest bummer.
I don't think it's going to be as tall as the current consoles we have.
Because my Xbox is currently on its side because it is too tall to fit in the shelf that it is in.
Yeah, you're committing a crime by doing that.
Well, you know what? My Xbox is committing a crime by being too tall. I say that as my PlayStation 5 is also on its side because it's also too tall. It's also on its side. They're both on their side. Yeah, like I said, I just think this is the natural progression. If this is exactly what happens or something similar to this, I would not be surprised. As far as we know, the next PlayStation system also, which is slim or refresh or whatever it is, right? It's
Yeah.
not going to be much slimmer. It doesn't sound like than the current one, but also is going away from a disk drive. From everything we've heard, there might be an external one that you can connect, but that it's not going to be built in. I think this does pretty well indicate that whatever the next generation is, we can kiss disk drives goodbye. Like,
we watch movies streaming, and man, if you don't get good, if you have like a blip in your Wi-Fi,
yep,
you're not watching anything in 4K, and that really bums me out.
Let me clarify here: are your consoles not hardwired?
They are.
Okay.
That's just the quality of my internet.
Oh, gotcha.
And the streaming services also don't always deliver the speeds you want either. Like, especially knowing
for sure.
like Netflix doesn't always put out their 4K is when they say they do.
Yeah, and there's definitely still compression there and all of that. 100%. Yeah. So I do think that this is just pretty clear and evidence that, as we move forward, disk drives are not going to be part of what we see. But I mean, Josh, does your computer have a disk drive? So
I know, and that's crazy to me.
so yeah, but yeah, cool. What did you want to talk? Anything else about the leaks, or did you want to move on to the direct?
No, we can move on to the direct. I think that everything else, I don't think was super surprising.
Right. Imagine that Xbox wants to buy Nintendo. Who knew?
Yeah, like who
everyone. Yeah, exactly. Right. Did you watch the direct? What were your thoughts on it, Josh? Any big takeaways from the direct?
I believe I did watch the direct. Did I watch the direct? Yes, I did. I think I'm so happy that Mario RPG is coming. Still, I'm still happy about that. What's funny? I really was interested in F-Zero 99. I don't think I've turned my Switch on in months since I stopped playing Tears of the Kingdom. So that was a bummer, but that I didn't play that yet. But I'm very excited to see Dave the Diver coming to the console. And my son was interested in Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door remaster, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's too much words for him to be able to actually play through that game. Too reliant on knowing what's happening,
right?
Which is things we're discovering now in some of the games he's playing. But I know a lot of people were excited to see more about the Silk Song content, which was lost on me because I didn't like Hollow Knight.
Wait, was Silk Song in it?
I thought it was. No, maybe not. Oh, maybe they just had this link in here. Oh, they just have a link for it. Sorry.
Okay, I was like, I totally missed that when I watched it, if that was true.
Yeah, no, I just scrolled too far down. Among Us, the new Among Us map, my son's very excited about. I was like, you don't play Among Us. Apparently they play in real life at camp, like some after school camp. I'm like, okay. Nice. Yeah, how about you? Was there anything that caught your eye in the direct?
So both the direct and the PlayStation showcase, or not showcase, PlayStation State of Play, I watched like in the airport, like on our way back from Disney. So I had earbuds in and was watching. I think it's pretty evident, and not in a bad way. I'm not saying this as a slight. It's pretty evident that we are on the last legs of the Switch, right? Like
100%.
These are all games that are good games that people are excited about, but these are not like our next, like, right, we're not seeing the next huge Mario game, like the next 3D Mario game, because obviously we have Wonder coming out here pretty quick. But I do think having like Super Mario RPG like getting remade, and having Thousand Year Door, and like having those things coming, it's like, okay, they're really looking for what are going to be things that people are going to be really excited about, but we're not, but probably from an investment standpoint, we can do not super quickly, but like as a good send off, as a good like last hurrah for this system, so that we can have our new entries in our next system there, right, for Switch 2 or whatever they call it. At least that's my perception, but overall, like, I thought this was a pretty solid direct. My problem I always run into right now is my time to play games is more limited than it ever is, or ever has been, at least for the last like decade. And Nintendo is always just my third place console, and it just has been for some time.
Yeah.
So though there are things that I want to play here, none of these are things that are going to likely get played by me, if I'm totally awesome. I really want to play Trombone Champ. Like, I know I could on PC, but like, I think Trombone Champ looks awesome. But yeah, like, the Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, like having that come to Switch is awesome because I really love Luigi's Mansion. But yeah, there's a lot of cool things here. The new Princess Peach game I think looks really fun for March. A lot of fun things here. I'm not going to have time for them, so unfortunately, most of these are not going to get played by me.
Contra looks fun.
It does, as does Day of the Diver, which we talked about a little bit earlier, obviously. So, all right, Josh. Anything else with the Nintendo Direct?
Negative.
Okay. So, Josh, here's my next question for you. How, as we get towards wrapping up, since we're getting to the 2-hour mark here, how bad at like accounting do you have to lay off 830 people to balance your budget, Josh?
I think what's more insane is that they're claiming that they're not making money from Fortnite. I like in our Discord, someone asked, we were talking about how it's even possible. I think I Googled it and it was like they make like $1.2 million a day in transactions on Fortnite a day, and you're laying off almost 1,000 employees.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Yeah, so
it's crazy. And they're like getting rid of they're divesting Bandcamp, which is another hugely super important thing for musicians and on Apple, right?
Yeah.
It's wild. I don't even know. I don't even have a good comment for it. I just, I saw the news, I took it in, and I couldn't believe it. So I went on with my day. It's too many.
I just can't imagine being like, okay, we are in a situation financially where we need to tighten our belt a little bit. And when you're tightening your belt a little bit, it means laying off 830 people. Right? Like that's not a little bit to me. That's basically a fifth, like it's 16 to 18% of their workforce.
Yeah, it's 16% of their employees. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's like a fifth basically. Like how, and you then go back and you look at like, okay, how much are they paying in licensing fees for Fortnite, right? Like for all those licensed characters that they have, like, it's like, well, how can they spend all the money that they make? Well, how many licensed characters? Maybe they can, like, maybe they are like spending more than we can possibly imagine on the licenses for those characters. But I don't know how you like miss by this much. Like, you have what is probably like the most used game engine in the world. You have what is probably the most played game in the world, and then you have to lay off close to a fifth of your workforce. I just don't understand.
Well, it makes me wonder who's getting bonuses. What are the salaries of those top 10 people? All that kind of stuff. What are they spending their money on? That's the questions that you kind of have to ask, right? Because this isn't our games are performing poorly. This isn't our stuff is performing badly. It's like you said, like we're spending our money not smart. We're not being wise with our investments or whatever. Like something is going wrong with the money that's coming in.
Well, and genuinely, like, and not that this is like the reason this happened, but like, how much did their Apple court fight cost them?
Yeah. Well, right, but their argument was so they would make more money in the long run. So they must have been hurting at that time.
And they raised the price of V-Bucks and everything. Like with the news of this happening, they increased the price of things.
Yeah. It's insane that I think it's crazier to think that it is okay that this happens. Like this is not like, it seems like it's some kind of crime that you can do this to people.
Well, and it's like, right, like you hire all of these people and then as leadership, you fail in your vision.
Yeah.
So then instead of you taking a massive pay cut, like, cause I mean, Tim Sweeney's worth what? $6 billion?
Right.
You're like, hey, we're just going to lay off 830 of you.
Yeah. It's a very unfortunate thing that is happening with that.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, right? You're like, well, I want to be angry at Epic. I'm going to like boycott them. Well, guess what? Every game you play uses their engine. So good luck with that.
Yeah. I mean, and I think there's, you have a right to be angry, but this is like by not supporting them anymore, it's making it worse for those people. So like you're not helping anybody.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Anyway, man, I can't, it's just so disheartening to like That's so many people. And that's on top of, like, we're probably not going to talk about it, but just like the fact that like Sega canceled Hyenas, which means probably people are going to get laid off there. That, Microsoft laid off 10,000 people. Sony shut down Pixel Opus. Like Ubisoft is laying off people or laying people off by forcing them to come back to the office. And if they can't, like, oh, I guess you're quitting, like just, oh my gosh, it just is. Yeah. Anyway. But we love video games, right?
I do.
Cool. Anything else with the video game news you want to talk about?
No. That's a good negative note to end on.
That's right. That's a good negative note to end on. With that, we'll move towards wrapping things up. So we're going to give you some recommendations for a well-rounded life. Obviously, we're a gaming podcast, but we want to give you one other thing that we're currently into that's helping us live that well-rounded life. Josh, what is your suggestion for the dear listeners this month?
Hey, my recommendation changed because I forgot this was out. Gen V is out on Amazon Prime. And if you are missing The Boys, like I am missing The Boys, it's not just a boys fix. There's actually seems to be a pretty good story in this one. And it follows superpowered college kids trying to, be superpowered college kids. It's kind of funny because they go to this college where it kind of separates them out into what will they do when they're adults? Will you be a crime fighter? Or will you be on Dancing with the Stars? Actual line from the show. They are referencing how there is also like this entertainment industry where soups thrive. Like they talk about there's people on Riverdale that are soups, and you could become a star, or you could become a crime fighter, or you could become a member of the Lamplighters League, which is like the most intelligent superheroes. And it's like a coming of age college kid story. So it does turn The Boys format on its side a little bit, and it has cameos from characters from The Boys. But one episode in, I will tell you, it doesn't pull any punches, just like The Boys. It opens very strong. It has some pretty funny scenes later and some pretty jarring scenes later. And one of the main characters, I won't spoil her superpower, but it has a close similarity to a very popular Marvel superhero as well, which I like how they handled it. I don't know if all the shows are out right away, but there's at least 2 because the second episode started streaming after I watched the first. So there's at least 2 out. But I thought great production value. I kind of forgot this was a thing because of the writer's strike and everything, but they did, as they say, they spared no expense. It's a high quality show as well. It's not just a spin-off. So that's what I would recommend. Gen V on Amazon Prime.
It's on my to watch list. I just have not gotten to it yet. So my recommendation, Josh, when I was a small child, a young lad, one of my favorite things to watch was the world and all the things involved with wrestling. I was a big wrestling fan growing up. It just was what I did on weekends. It was just a huge cornerstone for me. I had a whole bunch of wrestling toys, and like it just was something I adored. Now, when I got a little older, I kind of got out of wrestling. And then when wrestling got really popular again in like the mid to late 90s and early thousands, I just never really got back into it, right?
Yeah.
Wrestling today, still super popular. People still love it. I never really got back into it. However, there is a new documentary series on Netflix called Wrestlers, which follows the Ohio Valley Wrestling Association, which still to this day does a weekly wrestling show that they broadcast on the television, on the internet, on the many places for you to watch. It is run by Al Snow, who's a former WWE wrestler.
Yeah.
And this is by the same documentary team that does Last Chance U and Cheer. And they bring all of that care and finesse to wrestlers, which is following the story of these people who participate in the Ohio Valley Wrestling Association. I think it was great. I really, really recommend it. Even as someone who is not a huge wrestling fan anymore, I still found a lot to love about it. So if you have enjoyed Last Chance U, if you have enjoyed Cheer, or if you just like a good docuseries, or if you're really into wrestling, I think all of those are reason to watch Wrestlers on Netflix. Just be aware there is some, especially one of the later episodes has some pretty significant blood in it. But other than that, it is a really interesting look into the world of regional wrestling. So that's it, Wrestlers on Netflix. Josh, what do you say we wrap this show up?
Let's do it. Thanks for joining us, everyone. In addition to finding us on X and Instagram at Board with VG, you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/boardwithvg. So feel free to give us a 5-star rating over there. Also, if you want to communicate in the more long form or you're just not feeling social media, please feel free to email us at boardwithvg@gmail.com. We tag all our stuff when we do post with hashtag boardwithvg. So please use that hashtag as well so we can click it and see what you're doing. And whatever podcast service you're listening to us on, we encourage you to give us a stellar rating. That is whether you're downloading us from the Dice Tower Network feed or our very own standalone Board with Video Games feed. In lieu of my social plugs, you can do me a favor. If you like horror movies, I just recorded a 3.5-hour podcast with Donnie Reese and Dalvin Cox last Friday, for Decade of Horror, which is up on the PSVG feed, where the three of us run down our top 10 and then some horror movies that we've watched this year, give you some recommendations, talk some trash on some bad horror movies, and kind of just geek out on horror movies in general. So if you want to check that out, please do. And if you are on Spotify or anything, you can click on the show notes and just get our top 10 lists. So if you don't want to listen to 3.5 hours, but you want to watch horror movies, you can check out our list and see what we think are the best horror movies that we've seen this year. Kyle, where can people find you?
Awesome. So you can find me on all the usual places: X, Instagram, PlayStation Network, Xbox Live, Board Game Geek, all at Cyclocross, CYCOCROSS. As always, if you have suggestions for future topics, be sure to reach out to us on the social media because we want to talk about what you want to hear about. Thanks for joining us this month. Just remember, this is our September episode, even though it's coming out early October. We will still have an October episode, so you have that to look forward to in a couple weeks. And remember, everyone, whether it be board games or video games, never stop gaming.
Kyle. Josh. Sounds like Rost. I just wanted to send you a little message. I believe you've known each other for quite some time, but you've never met in person. Well, as an outsider, I understand that. But keep training. Keep focused on each other. Have each other's backs. And keep broadcasting that podcast. You're doing God's work. All right, guys. Take care of yourselves. Best of luck. Rost.